Hi, welcome to our Learn with Sawgrass Tuesday edition. We're live here with you every Tuesday afternoon at 3 p.m. Eastern and then every Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. And I am Rhonda. I am the Education Manager here at Sawgrass. And we use this time to go over some tips and tricks and just some learnings to help you with your sawgrass, to help you sell with sawgrass, and to just teach you a little bit about everything we do. A little bit of housekeeping. Rhodes is in the chat on YouTube, so if you do have any questions, please feel free to put those questions or comments in, and he'll be glad to answer those. Today we are going to be talking about VersiFlex and specifically adding t-shirts to your product line, because I think it's probably the easiest and the best thing that you can quickly add. And we're going to talk about why and why I think that's a moneymaker. But we're also going to jump into some other stuff today, and it's specifically about pricing your items. I know that me personally, I would consider myself a crafter or hobbyist who occasionally sells, and that's something that I always struggle with. And originally we were going to do that as a standalone last week, and I'd actually titled it Pricing Your Product So That You Can Pay Yourself, because I think often we don't have things at the price they really need to be at, and I'm guilty of that myself. So we're going to be diving into that today a lot as well, so we have a lot to cover. Tomorrow is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to run by Goodwill and pick up some items, and we're going to talk about upcycling your clothes. So we're going to do some upcycled items. So this is a pretty VersiFlex heavy week, so if you do have any questions about VersiFlex or are interested in it, please go ahead and put those in the questions and we'll be glad to answer those. So for now, let's talk a little bit about why I think shirts are such a good thing to add to what you offer. So first of all, just in case you haven't heard before, we do have a new ink set. It is called VersiFlex. As you are aware, this is an SG1000. I do keep an option tray on this one, so I do have two trays. One tray has my VersiFlex paper, one tray has my regular sublimation paper in it, and the ink set here is the VersiFlex ink. Now with the VersiFlex decorating system, what you can do is by putting in your traditional sublimation paper, you can do your regular sublimation. Out of the same printer, by putting in the VersiFlex light paper, now you can go on to all those things that have always been off. Well, a lot of those things that have always been off limits, like uncoated, so products that aren't coated for sublimation, they don't have that poly coating on them, like just picking up wood at a dollar store or a craft store. And then probably everyone's favorite is the cotton t-shirts. Now, pretty much every fabric can be used, whether it's a fabric like chenille or fleece or any of those, or if it's a blend, whether that's a poly cotton, a nylon blend, or just a poly cotton blend, all of those shirts can be used with the VersiFlex ink and the VersiFlex light paper. So first of all, for the first time, I feel comfortable saying you can put shirts into your product offerings, because for the first time, you are able to do those blends. You are able to do those 100% cotton shirts as well. And so those shirts that are really high in demand. Now, my shirt is not one that you could do with VersiFlex. We are still without a white toner or, a white ink or solution for that for the moment. So we are saying lights, brights, and whites are kind of your comfort zone for that. There's still a lot you can do. You're going to see today we're going to go on to a gray shirt, but you can go really into those mid-range shirts, those brighter reds and greens. Of course, you can't go on to burgundy, you can't go on to maroon, you can't go into a hunter green, but those mid-range colors do work really well. And so you do have a wide range of colors you can use for shirts. And so it's really, really awesome. All right, so let's talk about the beauty of pressing onto cotton and personalization. So all of the things that we've always said about sublimation as far as the benefit go here too. You're still using the SG1000 or SG500, which are desktop models. So they are very space saving. They are small. They don't take up a lot of room. So if you're doing other things, they are smaller. But it gives you a lot of agility. So that means you're not having to make lots of shirts. You can do just a few shirts. So that really widens out what you can do. You could actually sample out shirts for the local high school soccer team or even the chess club and have one or two on hand and then be able to quickly maneuver and make more. So it really makes it easy that you don't have to have a high amount of stock because it is so easy. It is just simply a print and press, as you're going to see in a minute. And so because of that, you don't have to keep a lot on hand. That allows you to have more designs for people to look at. That also allows you to personalize. I'm going to show you I wasn't planning to show you a design, but I will, that works perfect for this concept. And then we'll do it, well, we can go ahead and do that one. We'll do that one instead. But there's so much that you can do with this to be able to add this in, to be able to either add numbers or names or any of those things. And instead of me rambling, let me jump in and show you. So I'm going into my Sawgrass. I'm going to use the design tool. Please remember that you can use the Send to Sawgrass print utility to send from any program. You also can use, you can just upload PNGs, JPEGs, PDFs right into the Sawgrass print utility. I often design in here just to show you what designing looks like. But I'm actually, for today, I'm going to use a blank sheet, and I'm going to use an 8.5 by 11. Just to make my life a little bit easier. All right, so first I want to talk about another reason why I think this is such a great thing and such an easy thing to add. And I'm going to go to our Thanksgiving category. Now, we're not going to print with Thanksgiving today, but I think that Thanksgiving is a great holiday for shirts. I don't know if you've seen the shirt. I've seen it all over Pinterest where it says I'm a side chick, and then it's got rolls and macaroni and cheese and green bean casserole and everything listed out. Really great design if you want to make that and sell it, because I think it's really popular. But as you go through all of our Thanksgiving designs, you're going to see just that. There's so many things that you can make that people would want to wear that would be great for shirts. Now, I talked a few weeks ago about when you design that one of the things you would do is, since I'm doing this on a shirt, I'm going to take the background off. But I really, really love this particular design. I'm just here for the pie, and it's got 3 different kinds of pies. I think that's hysterical. All right. But Thanksgiving is a great one to have shirts for. The other one is going to be Halloween. So as we're kind of approaching those fall holidays, those are great. But really, I would say the sweet spot is going to be anything that you can design and have for sports parents. Because us sports parents spend a lot of money and a lot of time and a lot of energy on our kids' sports, and so we kind of want to celebrate. It also is one of those rare occasions where you can wear something with your child's name or your child's number and openly celebrate them, and typically they don't mind, so that's really nice. Did not pull up the one I was looking for, so let me see if I can pull it up another way. We do know that searching is still the one spot that can be a lot faster. We are working on that. I am on calls on just that every single week. So I hope I can find the one I had earlier. If not, we'll switch lanes. But you see, even something like this pickleball with the love would look great if you changed those colors. We do have a lot of great sports designs. As you can see, there are a lot that have diamonds. Diamonds are going to indicate that you do have to have that My Sawgrass Plus membership to be able to use those. Any of those that have that, you would need that. Ah, there it is. Okay, so I really, really love this design. It's such a simplistic one, but it's just so easy. You can go in and put in their number, and you are ready to go. I'm just going to shift that over. And that's just such an easy customizable design. So we're going to go ahead and send that over to the Sawgrass print utility. So we're going to move that from our designing program and move that over to our print utility. So we're going to give that just a minute to pop up. But t-shirts are so easy because everyone loves to have them. Most of the time, you know, it's something that you have a million t-shirts that you kind of wear in between other things and you really enjoy them. I have been very lucky. I've traveled a lot this year to trade shows, so I actually have quite a few VersiFlex theme shirts at my house that I use all around the house when I need a shirt. Okay. Okay, it is giving me an error actually, so let me sign back in. All right. I got mad at my computer earlier and signed out of a bunch of things, so it may be related to that. Okay, we're good. Okay, I should be good. We're going to send that again. I'm going to use my little shortcut, get that open. And it is definitely being mean to me. It's identifying who I am. So let's figure out what's happening, and if that doesn't work, I'll just print a different design. What I would recommend that you do in this situation is log out here as well. So log out in the design tool and then go back. I'm trying to avoid doing that because I don't want to have to pull up my design again, but we will see. Okay, let's give this another shot. Okay. Oh, nope, still same issue. So what I would do normally is if this were me giving tech support advice to someone, I would tell you to sign out here and then sign back in. I'm going to close all these other windows just so nothing is running into itself. I'm going to log back in. If I didn't say this, I did log out of everything this morning, so it could be related to that. We'll give it another quick shot. Rose, do we have any questions?
No questions in the chat.
All right. Well, since I'm starting over, I'll do a different design. And it's actually a really cool Halloween design. It's kind of moving into that season where you get away with wearing a really cute Halloween shirt. So that's exactly what we're going to make. Alright. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before. I'm going to remove the background. Don't really need it on this. Oh, I hit edit instead of remove. Go. We're going to hit print. Let's see if this works. Alrighty. Okay, we'll go ahead and send that over. There we go. Just when you start to say it's not working. Now let's see if it works over here. If not, I will, nope, it worked. So I simply had to log out both places and log back in. We have our printer set. This particular one, I'm going to center it on the page. And it is cotton already, so we are set and ready to go. So we'll go ahead and hit print. Now, one thing I do want to say is I want you to look at this print, because one of the things that I do hear and I do see on social media is that people who have not seen VersiFlex in person question the fact that you have to put it on the garment wet. Now, the question is never, you know, a timing thing or how many can you print and do it once or any of that. It's simply a concern that it's messy. So I want you to see that it's not messy at all. It's not a situation where the ink is pouring off of the page or that it's like dripping down or anything like that. So there's no mess, there's no fuss with this. It really doesn't look much different than your normal print. So it's going to look very similar to any print. It is shinier because it does have that expander on there. That is that wet part sitting on top. That is why it has to go on wet. But you notice I always make sure that when I print, I've left some room to grab it with my fingers. So I'm not sitting my hands into the into the ink. One of the beauties of the Sawgrass printer is it does have this tray that pulls out anyway. So you don't really have to worry about that. It does come out into the tray. You are very easily able to grab it. Now, I did not pre-press my shirt, so I'm going to leave this here for a second and pre-press that.
While we're pre-pressing, there is a good question here in the chat.
Okay, what is it?
This person is working with denim jackets. So they're asking,
my favorite.
What might be the reason the VersiFlex paper is sticking to
Yes.
the denim?
So if you haven't checked it out yet, We do have a wonderful podcast called Think Differently. You can find that on Spotify, Apple Music, and Amazon Music as well. Go back and listen to the episode that I did with Mike Kohler. So Mike Kohler is one of our research and development chemists here at Sawgrass, and Mike actually talks about just that. And so he's the guy who did all of the testing ahead of time before they ever rolled it out to me, because anything that touches me is considered to be prepared for customer facing, because I'm always the voice of the customer. So he actually did the early testing, and what he'll tell you is that if the paper sticks, the issue is the temperature. So most likely you need to raise the temperature a little bit. If the issue is that the image doesn't fully transfer, and I actually had this just a little bit ago, it didn't fully transfer, so I upped my pressure a little bit. So if it's not fully transferring, it is the pressure. If it is not, if the paper is sticking, you need to probably up the temperature and maybe lowering the temperature. One thing that I'll always say is get a temperature gun just to make sure that what the press says it's doing is what it really is doing. Now, since you are doing denim, I will do denim tomorrow when we do upcycling. And one of the things to be careful of is if there is a seam, and seams on denim are usually pretty heavy, you probably want to use a pressing pillow underneath just to create an even surface. I hope that answered your question, but add anything else. Now, one of the things I meant to say, and just kind of so you know, you are noticing that the paper sticks pretty well to this. So what that means is that you really, I don't really worry a lot about repositioning, which is the other concern that people often have when we talk about this, is since it's wet, you can't reposition it. As you saw, I position it on my hands, and then I drop it. Now you could put a little bit of tape to mark where you want to drop it as well. There's some other methods, those are probably the two most popular. But it doesn't move around because it's wet enough that it sticks to the garment. Same thing with wood, it sticks to the wood. So you don't have to worry about it easily shifting. It's really on there. So that's really not as big of a deal as you may think it would be. And I think once you've seen it, once you've played with it, you're going to see how easy that is. Now I am going to do a post press. I really like the look it gives it. It does increase the washability. We have found that doing that post press does give you more washes, which is a really great thing. So I just did a little post press on that. I think it smooths it out a little bit. I think because that first time you're peeling off, so some of the fabric kind of raises. So I think it looks a lot better. And there's my cute little shirt, which my coworkers are loving me because I'm giving everything away this week. I'm just going, hey, I have a new shirt. Want to wear it? All right.
And real quick, will you tell the temperature for the shirt you just did?
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, in the newest version of the Sawgrass print utility, once you set your material and everything underneath your preview image, you can click on it and it'll actually tell you 375 for 30 seconds is our sweet spot. Now, it can vary a little bit up or down temperature wise. I do know there are some people who swear by a lower time. So kind of play with it. But what we have found works most of the time is that 375 at 30 seconds. And you noticed, because I didn't say it, it is a hot peel. So make sure you are doing that hot peel. So I want to show you a new little feature that we have added to our website. It is in multiple places, but I'm going to show you right off this front page. And that is how much it would take to pay off your printer. So as you can see, we do have both VersiFlex and we do have SubLegit bundles. I'm going to look at this 500 with the VersiFlex. And so if I were just selling t-shirts, it says that it would take about 49 t-shirts to pay off that system. That's not a whole lot of shirts to be able to do, especially if you're making shirts for the chess club and you're making shirts for the local curling club and you're making shirts for all your kids' friends at the birthday party or any of those things. You can pay this off very quickly. So just know that this calculator exists. You can go in and play with this. You can change what printer you're using, what ink you're using. You can change all of that here and kind of play with that. And you will also see that there is a class that you can sign up for. This is about a 15-30 minute class, so really short. It's a one-on-one session just to kind of walk through the calculator and some of this cost stuff with Rhodes. So he is offering those classes. You will see that availability. Please spend a few minutes with him and he can talk more to you about how to use this calculator and how to make money with your Sawgrass printer. And of course, he's extremely knowledgeable, so he's just a great guy to talk to anyway. All right. So let's talk about pricing your products. And thank you. Originally, this wasn't going to be a part of this one, but I did add it in because we moved it from last week. Of course, the reason we moved it was I wanted to make sure and show you that how quick and easy it is, how short that return on investment is with the printer for anyone who doesn't have one yet, who may be checking out this video. And so I wanted to be able to show you that calculator when we talked about this. Now I'm going to dive in a little bit more about what you should consider when you're pricing items for sale. And that's really this concept of pricing your products so that you can pay yourself. So the first thing you need to think about is the cost of the goods sold. So that's going to be the price of your blanks. That's going to be the cost of your ink and your paper. That ROI calculator helps you calculate that and see what that is. The protective material, so the heat tape, the shrink wrap if we're using the convection oven, the blowout paper or butcher paper, even things like making sure you have your gloves and all of that, your protective materials. And then of course you have to get this to someone. So the packaging materials, whatever you're going to put it in to ship it. And you know, this is not a one shape fits all. We're going to talk about this again in just a minute. But packaging to ship a mug is very different than packaging to ship a t-shirt. A t-shirt can go in a padded envelope quite easily. A mug, you're going to have to make sure that there's some sort of protection and insulation. You may even be using a 2-box solution. So packaging is something to really think about. The equipment and overhead is also something to keep in mind. Heat presses, printers, convection ovens, all of these things sometimes need maintenance and replacement. You need to think about that. I see it so many times of people online who are complaining about the ink cost when it's really that if they're selling, they should be making enough money to cover the cost of the ink, to cover the press, to cover if you're in my situation at home and your version of Windows is about to no longer be supported. So you may be looking at a new computer. Those kind of things. Pay yourself and make sure that you're pricing in a way that you can cover all of your expenses. Utilities. You are using more electricity, especially if you're at home and you are using these presses and these other devices, calculate that for yourself. Make sure that's in there and cover yourself. Also, your My Sawgrass Plus subscription. It's $12.95 per month, but that's still a cost that kind of needs to be broken out of amongst all the jobs you're going to be doing in any given month. This is the big one. This is the whole paying yourself part. Your design time, whether it's creating or whether it's customizing, the production time, the printing, the pressing, the wrapping, the quality checks. This is a big one. And this is the one that, as I was saying, there'd be another one that I think is very flexible depending on what you're doing. It is very easy for me to print and press onto a t-shirt. It is a lot more difficult or time consuming for me to do acrylic or to do slate or to do glass. One of the reasons, the production time is longer. A ceramic mug is going to be in the press for 3.5 minutes, bare minimum. If I'm doing a t-shirt, that's 30 seconds. So even the press time itself is something to think about. Mugs, lots of tape. Tumblers, lots of tape. The supply isn't that expensive, but the time it takes to put it on and take it off is a little more time consuming. So make sure you're thinking about that when you're pricing your items. The other thing is going to be your admin time. Communicating with customers, managing your orders, prepping your shipments. Think about all of that as well. How much time is it going to take? The next thing is look at your local market and see what other items are being priced at. So what is the local market rate for a mug or an ornament? We have a store where you can sell, if you're in the U.S., through our design tool. We price based off of what we see as the average, but I have had people tell me ornaments sell for less here, or ornaments sell for more here. So those things are important because every market is a little different. Another is perceived value. There are designs that are pretty universal that everyone has and everyone has access to and anyone can make. To me, those don't get any extra added to it. But if it's something that I hand drew or my daughter hand drew, if it's something that I put a lot of effort into designing, then that's something where I think the price needs to go up because it is rarer. And it's really fun looking at the research and looking online because anything that's personalized has a higher value than something that's generic. So keep that in mind because so much of what we do is going to be personalized. And also, of course, think about what your customer is going to be willing to pay. Goes back to what I said earlier. There are some places that can price an ornament higher than we think is the average. There are places that's going to be lower. It's really going to depend on how many people are selling. It's also going to depend on just some demand things. So keep that in mind as well. The next thing is think about profit. Like I said, this is all about paying yourself. We don't want to just worry about what's going to cover your cost. We want to cover your cost and have a profit. So we not only want you to get into the black, we want you to get into the green. So we want you to have some money for that. So generally the rule of thumb is a 30 to 50% profit margin. But my sources that I was seeing were saying that custom products, personalized products, you actually can bump that even higher. Your profit should be higher, especially if you're designing or you're customizing. Keep that in mind. You're not only being paid for your time, you're also being paid for your artistry and for your creativity. So keep that in mind. I often use the example of photography. I think anything that's photography, whether it's a picture of a bird or whether it's a picture of someone's child, I always will would put a higher price on that because that is your own personal artwork and your own personal interpretation as a photographer. All right. Other things to remember, things that add value and should add to the cost: personalization. If you're bundling, if you're doing that mug with that coaster, and then not only do the blanks cost more, but anything that's sparkly or glittery or any of those premiums are going to generate a higher price. I can go ahead and tell you right now, glitter is going to trend over the next couple of months. So anything sparkly, anything glittery, you're going to be able to make some good money off of that. That's going to be a good one to do. And price it just a little bit higher because it's special and glittery. All right. I clicked backwards. Okay, so here is a general formula for pricing. The cost of your blank, the cost of your supplies, and the cost of your time, and you're going to multiply that by at least 2.5 and up to 4. That's going to give you a good set retail price. So think about that formula, but that's kind of, and if you use a different method, please feel free to drop that in the chat. I will keep running my mouth for just another minute or two, so anyone who wants to add to that conversation can. But Rhodes, before we do that, are there any other questions or comments?
No, we are caught up on everything.
Awesome. All right, so that's kind of a general look at a whole lot of things. We talked about printing and pressing on cotton shirts with VersiFlex. I talked about why I think that's such a great product to add to your store. And if I were selling, it's definitely something that I'd be adding to my store to sell. Also, we talked about that new ROI calculator that we have on our website. Please check that out, especially if you're looking to invest in a Sawgrass printer, just to see how many items you would have to sell to pay that off. So that's going to be a really good thing for you to check out. And then also we looked at some ways to do pricing and to calculate your price. Hopefully I brought up some things that you hadn't thought about, and I don't want you to ever feel guilty about adding that to the price because whether it's friends or family or whether it's a stranger, you do still need to be paid for your work and for all those costs that we talked about today. Rhodes, did anyone have any suggestions for us?
No, nothing.
All right. Okay, so just a reminder, tomorrow we are looking at upcycling. I am going to do my best to find a pair of jeans or a jean jacket to bring in because I think VersiFlex on denim is probably my favorite thing on the planet. But we will do an outfit tomorrow, an upcycled outfit. We also do have a podcast dropping later this week. It's going to be really cool, and it's actually with my boss, Dimple Patel. She's going to be talking about our software platform, and so check that out on Friday. If there's nothing else, we're good to go. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.